Good morning and welcome to the Commission's administrative meeting for December 2nd, 2020. Before we begin today, I'd like to pick up on an update that I provided last week regarding the posting of data related to our docket in PC 53, which is the COVID docket. I'm happy to report that the Commission now has a link on its homepage that would provide the public and any interested parties with information regarding arrearages relating to our electric, natural gas, and water utilities. In addition to showing the number of customers that are currently in arrears, the information provided will show the number of disconnections as well as the number of customers on payment plans. That information is updated monthly, and the reports that were filed yesterday on December 1st are now posted. Additionally, utilities that file their information regarding their regulatory asset treatment is also filed on that page, and that information is updated quarterly. Both those reports can be found in the repository on the top right-hand corner of the PSC's homepage. In other news, I'm happy to report that the Commission and the state continue to pursue a policy to support the transition to electric vehicles. As you know, the state has a policy and goal of attempting to get 300,000 Maryland registered vehicles on the road by 2025. Just last week, right before Thanksgiving, two of our utilities cut their ribbons on their new public charging stations. That would be our largest cooperative utility in the state, Southern Maryland Electric Cooperative. They cut the ribbon on a new L2 charging station at the Leonardtown Public Library. And our largest municipal utility, Easton Utilities, likewise opened a multi-bank unit of chargers for both Teslas and for L2 drivers. And that charging bank is located in Easton, Maryland, a few blocks from downtown Easton, which we refer to as destination charging. So folks could go downtown, do some shopping, go to a restaurant, and come back with a full tank. And I should note that the charging at Easton is complimentary at no cost to the EV owner. So we congratulate SMECO and Easton Utilities for opening their public charging, in addition to the public charging stations operated by BGE, Pepco, Delmarva, and Potomac Edison. We have meeting minutes to approve from our last meeting on November 25th, 2020. The vote will begin with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 6 items on today's consent agenda. Items number 1 and 2 are amended interconnection agreements from Verizon Maryland LLC and GC Pivotal LLC DBA Global Capacity, as well as Verizon Maryland LLC and Envoy LLC. Item number 3 is a notice of discontinuance of regulated switch-based local services from EXO Communication Services LLC. Items number 4 and number 5 are revised tariff pages pertaining to Carey's Law from Broadwing Communications LLC and Global Crossing Local Services, Inc. And finally, item number 6 is a notice of name change in structure from ML LLC to a C Corp, and a request that electric license be amended to include residential customers from Homemade LLC, DBA Zentility.
Thank you. Seeing no questions from the commissioners on these 6 consent items, I would move that with respect to items number 1 and number 2, that we approve the interconnection agreement amendment 10 days after a 30-day comment period unless adverse comments are filed. With respect to item number 3, I move that we note the filing. With respect to item number 4, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of December 4th, 2020. With respect to item 5, I move that we accept the revised tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of December 7th, 2020. And with respect to item number 6, I move that we note the name change, grant the company's request to amend its electricity license to include providing electricity services to residential customers, and direct the company to provide marketing and training materials for the residential class specific to its Maryland operations to the Commission staff and the Office of People's Counsel 30 days prior to the utilization of the materials in Maryland. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman, item number 7 on today's administrative agenda is from Columbia Gas of Maryland, Inc., consisting of its 2021 Strategic Infrastructure Development and Enhancement Project List and surcharge proposal and an updated status of its 2020 STRIDE project list. On this item, for staff, we have Lloyd Spivak, Carlos Acosta, Lucy Shea, and Afton Hauer. For the company, Megan Moore, Rebecca Garrity, and Ken Fillion. And for Office of People's Counsel, Patrick O'Loughlin.
Thank you. We'll begin with staff. Good morning, Mr. Spivak.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. This is Columbia Gas's 2021 proposed STRIDE project list and associated surcharges. First, I would like to correct 2 typos in staff's comments. On page number 4, the table title should be Table 1, not Table 3. And on page number 10, in the paragraph below the table, in the second line, or rather the second line should say, or 7.36 miles, not 7.6 miles. Section 4-210 of the Public Utilities article provides for the recovery through a surcharge of reasonable and prudent costs of investment designed to improve public safety or infrastructure reliability associated with accelerated gas company infrastructure replacements and improvements, known as STRIDE programs. By order number 88852, issued August 28, 2018, the Commission adopted a stipulation and settlement among Columbia, the Maryland Office of People's Counsel, and Commission staff approving Columbia's second 5-year STRIDE plan. The approved plan encompasses a replacement rate of 8 miles per year of eligible infrastructure for 5 years, with a provision for a cost escalation factor of up to 3.25% annually and certain tariff revisions. Using the agreed upon escalation factor and under the terms of its most recent base rate case, Columbia is authorized under its STRIDE 2 plan to seek STRIDE reimbursement of approximately $16,908,000 for 2021 for STRIDE work eligible, covered by the STRIDE surcharge, although the company's filing is for a slightly higher total of $16,945,294. Columbia is required to file a list of STRIDE projects annually that includes for each project the project description, location, estimated cost, types of infrastructure replaced, risk assessment, estimated date of completion, and the reasons for replacement. This is Columbia's third STRIDE 2 project list and is accompanied by the company's proposed surcharges for the same period, calendar year 2021, as well as its report to date on calendar year 2020. Columbia's filing has been reviewed by the Engineering Division, the Accounting Investigations Division, and the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division. For 2021, Columbia proposes to replace approximately 7.36 miles of priority pipe in cast iron or bare steel under its STRIDE surcharges, with project's estimated cost of $16,945,294. However, to accomplish the annual 8 miles of replacements committed, the company plans to replace an additional approximately 0.9 miles of priority pipe, which it will exclude from the STRIDE surcharge due to the total cost. All the projects in this year's list are in the Cumberland area. Staff reviewed Columbia's justification for replacement and has verified that the projects meet the definition of eligible infrastructure as specified by the STRIDE law. Accounting staff has reviewed the attachments associated with the proposed 2021 IRS revenue requirements and the associated surcharges to become effective January 1st, 2021. According to the accounting division, the filed surcharge calculations are accurate and without material discrepancies. The filing and staff's comments detail the current and proposed monthly surcharges and proposed surcharge caps for each customer class. Since the calculated surcharges are higher than the proposed caps, the proposed surcharges will be set equal to the proposed surcharge caps. Staff recommends that the Commission approve Columbia Gas of Maryland's 2021 project list and accept the company's proposed surcharges for filing.
Thank you, Mr. Spivak. Before we turn to Columbia Gas, are there any parties that wish to speak to this item? Ms. Moore.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Good morning to everyone. We appreciate staff's thorough review, and we are here if you have any questions today.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. I remember 1 year ago, we were looking at all the projects in Hagerstown, and it looks like the STRIDE projects are now moving westbound to the Queen City. Looks like a lot of these numbers were in order and not terribly different by orders of magnitude when compared to the 2020 list, which date to. Do commissioners have questions for Ms. Moore or Columbia Gas?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Herman, and then Commissioner O'Donnell.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Commissioner O'Donnell. I thought I saw, Ms. Moore, that as of September 30, there were only 20% completed. So I'm just checking to see what the status of completion is, because you were projecting to be completed by the end of the year. So I just wanted to see where you were, if you could, please.
Sure. Understand, and great question, Commissioner Herman. We have completed all projects at this point, and I'm going to turn it over to Ken Fillion in engineering if he wants to add anything to that.
No, that's correct. We've completed all our STRIDE work for 2020. That's correct.
Well, that's great. Thank you. So you're 100% done, and the 20% was just because you hadn't finished all gotten through everything.
That is correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really a comment more than a question, and that is to say this filing and the company clearly has an emphasis on replacing low pressure main, and it's woven through all these projects, and it will make the city of Cumberland a much more safer place. And I just wanted to say thank you for the continued focus on replacing that low pressure main. So bravo Zulu, as we used to say in the naval service. Good. That means good job for those of you who don't know.
Thank you. It's appreciated.
Additional comments or questions? Seeing none, I would move that we approve the company's 2021 project list and accept the company's proposed surcharges and tariff revisions for filing. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard. I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, item number 8 on today's administrative agenda is from Washington Gas Light Company, consisting of its 2021 STRIDE 2 project list under case number 9486 and its proposed STRIDE 2 surcharges for 2021. On this item, for staff, we have Annette Garofalo, Acton Hauer, John Clemenson, Jamie Smith, Felix Patterson, Drew McAuliffe, and Negusi Tesfaye. For the company, we have Jack Morrow, Wayne Ackus, Aaron Stuber, Matt Esmacher, Andrew Lawson, John Dodge, as well as Patrick O'Loughlin for the Office of People's Counsel.
We'll begin with our staff.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. I'm not showing myself because I've been told I glow red or something like that. So, but hopefully you can hear me. By order number 88943, issued December 11th, 2018, the Commission approved Washington Gas Light Company's Stride 2 plan effective January 1, 2019, subject to certain conditions. As approved, WGL's Stride 2 contains 5 distribution programs and 5 transmission programs. In its order number 88943, the Commission noted that approval of WGL's proposed Stride 2 plan maintains WGL's current acceleration rate, which constitutes completion of 120 miles of Stride infrastructure over 5 years. By approving WGL's Stride 2 plan, the Commission authorized WGL's overall spend of $371,760,000 for the company's distribution programs and $21,630,000 for WGL's transmission programs over 5 years, adjusted for inflation at 3% per year. And all other reporting requirements remain in place. For 2021, WGL has proposed 156 projects, of which 45 projects have been carried over from 2020. Together, these projects represent 16.65 miles of main replacement and 3,617 services that have been replaced. Certain additional transmission programs are also proposed. Staff has reviewed WGL's project list and believes the proposed projects meet the STRIDE criteria and are in compliance with the Commission's order. Staff recommends the project list be accepted. Staff has also reviewed WGL's proposed surcharges and caps and recommends that they be accepted. Members of the Engineering Division, Accounting Investigations Division, and Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We heard you loud and clear. We'll now turn to the representative from the Maryland Office of People's Counsel.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we could hear you. We can't.
Oh, you can hear?
We could hear you.
Okay, it says that I'm muted and I'm on video, so I'm getting it. Having some technical difficulties. Apologize for that. Yes, OPC filed some comments. Mostly, we wanted to note that the proposed mileage of replacement is significantly lower than what had been approved by this commission when WGL filed their 5-year plan, and not only that, but it's the second year in a row where it's significantly less than what was approved again in the 5-year plan. And we have some pretty growing concerns that WGL will not meet its projections, and as such, we're requesting that this commission order WGL to submit a supplemental list of projects similar to what Columbia has done that they can recoup in a future rate case. But and also we have some outstanding data requests that to the various holidays are due to be answered today. So perhaps council can fill me in. I believe some of this mileage that's proposed for this year is actually carryover from last year, which again adds concerns of WGL being able to meet its targets.
Mr. O'Loughlin, I suspect counsel for WGL will respond. Good morning, Mr. Dodge.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. John Dodge appearing on behalf of Washington Gas. For specific questions, I may direct them to the folks that Mr. Johnston identified earlier, but I thought picking up on Commissioner Herman's question, I might give everyone a snapshot of where we are on our 2020 status and how that informs our 2021 project list. And then I will respond to OPC Council and that agency's suggestion. First, we have good and solid results to report for 2020. notwithstanding the pandemic. As of the end of October, we have completed 85% of the projected main projects, 86% of projected service replacements, 85% of meter buildups or risers, and 70% of lift gauge lines. We have accomplished those results at 79% of the estimated spend in our 2020 budget. We have had and continue to have customer denials of access owing to concerns about COVID-19. As of the end of October, we had roughly 24 customer denials of access pending, and that is contributing to 2.7 miles of main where new pipe has been installed, but we have not been able to cut over and therefore retire the old main. We continue to be very sensitive to our customers' concerns about allowing our personnel or our contract personnel access into their homes, and absent a clearly defined hazardous situation, we'll take it on the chin on our reporting results, but we're not going to try to override our customers' health concerns. For the period through end of October 2020, our project cost variance is 12%. That compares with our overall Stride 2 cost variance of 8%. I do want to call to the Commission's attention one growing concern before I move on to a little bit of an explanation on the 2021 project list after Ms. Garofalo's explanation. We are noticing that WSSC is starting to exercise new authority in the area of construction. Some examples that they need all designs submitted as what are called department profiles, and I'll defer to one of my colleagues to explain exactly what that is. They're requiring hand diggings at all crossings. They are not allowing construction near ongoing or planned WSSC construction sites. So we may be filing an updated report on that with the Commission sometime in the early part of 2021 if WSSC's newfound muscle adversely impacts our project list. Turning to the 21 project list, thank you to staff for describing them. I wanted to call out that of the overall number of projects, 34 have been delayed or carried over from 2020, largely due to pandemic concerns. 18 are related to customer denials of access. 7 relate to paving issues. 1 is a significant permitting delay that we're still trying to resolve. And 8 were delayed during our 7 or 8 week curtailment period in the early part of the summer. So that's a snapshot of our 2020 results and where we're headed for 2021. We would like to respond to OPC's suggestion. We do not support OPC's suggestion for 3 reasons. First, it is premature. We are in year 2 of a 5-year program. Those 2 years have been anomalous. You will recall we got a bit of a late start in year 1, and we're battling pandemic conditions in year 2. We still have hopes that we can make up ground over the remaining 3 years. Second, Columbia Gas, I would submit, is not operating under the same circumstances as Washington Gas. As Mr. Spivak just explained, Columbia Gas agreed with OPC and staff to a settlement whereby the company must meet its Stride main obligations at a certain budget cap. And the company cannot do that and stay within the $2 cap, is my understanding, and meet its main replacement requirements. Washington Gas is not in that same factual circumstance. I would also add that I think it's an open question, and I haven't thought this through completely, but I'm not aware that the Stride statute authorizes the Commission, absent a company's approval or agreement, but I don't think the statute authorizes the Commission to order a gas utility to replace Stride eligible material on an accelerated basis, but delay recovery until the next rate base. To my mind, that would vitiate the entire purpose of the statute. So again, that speaks to why Columbia Gas entered into a settlement, and the Commission can enforce that settlement. But here, the commission would have to interpret stride, I think, very liberally to get to the result that OPC wants to fashion. I think the answer here is to allow gas utilities to make course corrections during the course of a calendar year. And Washington Gas, of course, did that successfully based on conditions that became known to us as a result of the pandemic. We successfully petitioned the commission to alter our surcharge so that we would not overcollect from our customers. And you may recall in 2019, we proposed an additional project in the Flower Branch area that was of particular sensitivity. The commission was kind enough to accommodate that request.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. O'Loughlin.
My dog's asleep at my feet, so so I don't think that it is necessary to force a result upon the company, particularly when in the last 2 years we have indicated our transparency and our willingness to come before this body and seek changes to our project list or particularly to the surcharge. So for those reasons, we would oppose the OPC suggestion. And with that, I and my colleagues are ready for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge. Perhaps starting with OPC's concern, it's obviously 5.2 miles short is a significant amount to catch up on over the course of the next 3 years. It's not impossible. But let me ask you this, the 2.7 miles of pipe that has been installed but not put into service because it sounds like you had, I think you said 24 customers denying access. If that 2.7 miles of pipe was in service, would that count against the 5.2 miles that Mr. O'Loughlin is concerned about?
I believe so. I would call upon Mr. Ackus to confirm that. I think that the 5.9 is inclusive of the 2.7, but I'll ask Mr. Ackus to confirm.
The answer is no, it will not affect that number. I think in general, what we want to discuss is not only what, like Mr. Dodge has explained, is that even with our 2021 list that we project out, we're still projecting to be 13% under our approved spend for those 3 years combined. If the company was to or would increase the planned main or planned spend on main replacement, that would bring us close to 85%, which would drop that 5 mile difference, overall mileage difference significantly. So we are underspending, and if that money is applied appropriately to main replacement, we'll close that gap. And that is still a possibility with the remaining years in the program.
Mr. Yakis, I don't think you answered my question.
Okay.
I was asking, I believe Mr. O'Loughlin, his concern is that you're either 5.2 or 5.9 miles behind schedule right now. My question to you was the 2.7 miles of pipe that is operational but not in service, that has already been constructed, that's on top of the 5.2? Is that what you're saying? So we're talking about 7.9 or 8 miles behind?
The answer is no. It's still within that 5.9 gap. So it's not an 8 miles or a 7 mile gap.
Okay, I think that's what Mr. Dodge initially said.
Yes.
Okay, so it's really, if we take out that project, it'd be 1 point or 2 point, somewhere 2.5 miles remaining. Okay. Mr. Dodge, how long can you let these customers hold the new Stride project hostage? I know you want to be sensitive to their concerns, but allowing 20 customers to hold up several miles of pipeline, is that reasonable?
That is a wonderful question, and I do not have a simple answer for you. We continue to work with them, not only our field crews, but we do have office personnel who are trained to reach out and try to assuage customers. We are hopeful that given the imminence of vaccines, the increase in therapeutics, and hopefully we'll get by the current surge over the course of the winter, and we can revisit this. But I think I said during our last face-to-face or virtual face-to-face meeting that we would welcome any guidance from staff, OPC, and the commission on what to do. Obviously, if it's a hazardous situation, an active leak, for example, or an odor call that we get, we go in and we do not wait for customer permission to address that situation. But one story that I may have shared before that came to mind, one of these 25 was a family that had created their own bubble in the grandparents' home. And there was a brand new baby, and that baby is probably at least crawling by now, given the passage of time. But we are not in the business of intruding on a family bubble with a newborn, given COVID-19 concerns. So we just continue to work the problem. I wish I had a straighter answer for you that on XYZ date we're going to pull some sort of trigger, but we don't have that in our plans at present.
Well, again, I recognize and appreciate the company's concerns for its customers, but allowing a couple of customers to prevent millions of dollars of infrastructure that's being paid for by all ratepayers appears to be unreasonable, and it's unclear when we'll reach the end of this pandemic situation. So it could be a while longer. I would hope that the utility uses all of its legal recourse to make sure that these mileage, 2.7 miles, goes into effect. With respect to OPC, Mr. O'Loughlin, if we take WGL at its word, your 5.2 miles of tardy stride projects drops down to 2.5 miles. Does that change the equation for you? I cannot hear you. Your button might be reversed. Okay.
I'm happy to answer for him, Your Honor.
I figured you would be. Mr. O'Loughlin, if you'd like to call in, we'll just pause a moment to allow you to respond.
While Mr. O'Loughlin dials in, he did ask one question about the status of a data request. I can provide a response for that. We are working on that. There was a mix-up on our end, and the data request was misnumbered. It is technically due today. I'm not sure we can answer the entirety of the data request today. The company would not object if OPC wanted to submit supplemental comments in this matter. We would hope the commission would go ahead and approve our project list, but we certainly don't want to deny OPC the ability to further comment based on our response to the data request.
I suspect none of the commissioners would object if you wish to make that voluntary update for OPC. Mr. O'Loughlin, I think you're with us now.
I believe I am. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
I apologize. When I logged into this meeting, it gave me some sort of error code, and I had to log in with the web browser, and everything seems to be not working at all. So very 2020. Anyhow, fewer miles is always going to be better. We still have our concerns because last year they were also short by about 5 miles. So, you know, if WGL is going to be able to accelerate its program and meet the mileage that the customers are paying for, that is exactly that would assuage the concerns of OPC, but we still have our concerns that we may have ratepayers who are paying for a benefit that they are just not receiving.
If I may, Your Honor, this is the traditional OPC chestnut that ratepayers are paying for a benefit they are not receiving. As we demonstrated this year by voluntarily lowering our surcharge, that's just not the case. It's not the case under the law as written. It's not the case as the company has implemented its surcharge over the past 6.5 years. Ratepayers pay for what they get, not for what they don't get. Thank you.
Mr. O'Loughlin, would you like to respond? Because every year we do see the adjustments to the surcharge to reflect the most recent update.
That's a fair it's a fair point. Again, what I'm stating is merely the concern of WGL being able to finish their proposal as was approved by this commission when they said, you know, these are the miles that we'll be able to do. And we've had issues with cost variances before. It seems that those are far more under control now, and I appreciate that, as I'm sure the commission does. But now we have mileage discrepancies that we have no indication of acceleration yet.
Thank you. I believe your comments have put the utility on notice. I am concerned, I'll repeat once again, that customers are paying for the 2.7 miles and they're not getting any benefit right now. So that is an example of where the customers are paying for Stride, and until that pipe is in service, they are not receiving a benefit. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dodge, I have maybe a little bit of a different perspective, so I want to explore that with you. In the legislature, there was a sizable group of folks, and there still is, to be honest with you, who believe that public utilities have the obligation to safely and reliably and at a reasonable cost provide utility service to their customers. As a matter of your monopoly, excuse me, your monopoly franchise, you have an obligation to do that. And there's a sizable portion of legislators who at the time Stride was created, because I was there, and currently, because I know them, believe that you should have been doing this all along as a utility and shouldn't need Stride. And Stride is a catch-up mechanism because you failed to meet your obligation in the first place. So, with that perspective, why don't you have an obligation to do the projects regardless of whether they're recovered under Stride or not? Because you identified them as being safety related, safety significant, and you have an obligation to replace them, whether it's recovered under Stride or some other mechanism. Please respond.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would agree with the first 70 or so words that you shared this morning. We do believe.
I didn't count my words, so I'm not being flip here. I'm very serious.
No, as am I, Your Honor. Thank you. That we do see as our natural and legal obligation to provide safe, reliable, and affordable natural gas service in the state of Maryland, and I think we do that. And I think the record in Stride shows that we do that. You will recall, as a former legislator, that Stride is a safety enhancement statute. It does not speak to what we do or don't do as our basic obligation. It is an incentive for us to go above and beyond that and replace the riskiest pipe that we have remaining in our aging system. And that's exactly what we've done. So I agree with you 100%, and the company agrees with you 100%, that we have an obligation to provide safe, reliable, and affordable natural gas service, and we do that. And had we not embarked on Stride, we would be replacing riskier pipe segments, but it would be over a much longer term. I think that OPC used the term trade-off in its comments. I don't agree with that precise wording, but the incentive does exist in the Stride statute for companies to accelerate pipe replacement, and in exchange, their incentive reward, if you will, is contemporaneous cost recovery. So that's exactly what we've been doing for 6.5 years, and hopefully we will continue to do.
Well, for all the ballyhooing I heard about Washington Gas's prowess with regard to forecasting and being able to predict what costs would be and timelines would be, and your great ability to do that consistently, I've seen an overpromise and an underperformance with regard to completing these projects, and it's consistent. Washington Gas is consistent in not meeting what it says it's going to meet to this commission, and I fail to understand why that is consistent with Washington Gas.
Look, we've had this discussion at least once before, sir, and I respectfully disagree that we've overpromised and underdelivered. The statute protects ratepayers to the extent that we either under or overspend, and if we overspend, we refund with interest, and we have done that in the past. If we have underspent, we just collect the difference without interest. We have, as I said, we've made very good progress so far in Stride 2, particularly on our main and service replacements. We're at 85 or 86% replacement rates through the end of October, at 79% of our estimated spend, and our cost variances are down, as even OPC has acknowledged, under 10%. So in a major construction plan and program like ours, those are well within, and I would say even above, industry standard results.
I guess I'm a little old school, Mr. Dodge, and I do have a different perspective. Do what you're if you tell me you're going to do something, do it. If you don't do it, don't keep bringing me excuses that you didn't do it. And that's consistently what my ears hear here. Let me change tacks here a little bit. With regard to your low pressure main, unlike the other filings we'll deal with today and dispense with today, very little discussion, some, but very little discussion about the replacement of low pressure main. Please recommunicate to me Washington Gas's focus on replacing low pressure main in your service territory, because there's some information, but not a lot.
Thank you. I will defer to Mr. Morrow in a moment, but I'll just remind the commission that we have replaced, I believe, almost 3 miles of low pressure to date in calendar year 2020 under our Stride plan. As we said, I've said many times before, it is not a separate plan. I can promise you, Commissioner O'Donnell, that your comments are percolating within the company. We do take our responsibility regarding replacement of low pressure seriously. As I've shared before, and I think we've filed before with the commission, that outside of Stride, we have taken extraordinary steps to make sure that our remaining low pressure system is under strict scrutiny by company personnel 24/7 to make sure that we do not have a NiSource type accident. So with that, I will ask Mr. Morrow to speak to the specifics of, and it may be Mr. Ackes, but one of my colleagues will pick me up here and address our low pressure plans for 2020 and 2021.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This is Jack Morrow with Washington Gas. On our 2021 project list, we do have about 2.2 miles of low pressure main that are going to be replaced with medium pressure lines. So that's our plan right now. The projects that have come up through our risk ranking, as well as working with some of the head of pavement projects, we have about 2.2 miles of low pressure main that will be abandoned in the 2021 list.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope the company will continue to focus and make it a real priority with regard to getting that old low pressure main stuff out of the plant and retired. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Mr. Dodge, the commission won't vote on your offer to provide the updates to Mr. O'Laughlin and OPC, but I suspect that if you're willing to make them, we'll accept them today. With that, I move that we accept the company's 2021 project list and accept the proposed surcharges for filing effective January 1st, 2021. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, item number 9 on today's administrative agenda is from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, consisting of its 2021 Stride project list and surcharge calculations. On this item, for staff, we have Annette Garofalo, Kobe Aniam, Mark Riley, and Afton Hauer. For the company, Colin Tidings, Dan Marcus, Kevin Nelson, David Smith, John Frayne, Lynn Fiery, and Dan Herson. And for Office of People's Counsel, Patrick O'Laughlin.
Thank you. Good morning. We'll begin with commission staff.
Good morning again, Your Honor. By order number 88714, issued May 30th, 2018, the Commission approved a Stride 2 plan for BGE with a replacement rate of approximately 48 miles of main per year for all targeted assets except pre-1970 high-pressure steel services, 3/4 inch, whose replacement rate was allowed to be accelerated due to the leak rate of those assets. The commission also required that BGE provide selection criteria and the role that each criterion plays in the selection of each STRIDE project, and more detailed information regarding the cost of replacement services and mains in future filings. This is BGE's STRIDE 2 filing for calendar year 2021. BGE proposes to install 49.7 miles of main and approximately 12,000 services in 2021. The company's list is comprised of cast iron and bare steel main and approximately 11,000 gas services with no pre-1974 3/4 inch high-pressure steel. Staff has reviewed BGE's proposed surcharges and believes they have been properly calculated. These surcharges may change in January when BGE's multi-year base rate plan is final, depending on the commission's decision in case number 9645. At this time, staff recommends the commission accept the proposed surcharges for filing, and we also recommend you accept the STRIDE project list. Members of the Engineering Division, Accounting Investigations Division, and Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division are available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Flo. Kobe, your mic is open. Before we move to the company, are there any other parties that wish to comment on this filing? We'll move to the company. Representative from Baltimore Gas and Electric, Mr. Herson.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Daniel Herson for BGE. Joining me this morning are multiple personnel from BGE's rates group and our gas system planning and operations teams. We don't have a formal presentation to provide this morning other than to say that we look forward to executing our 2021 STRIDE project list. For next year, we will be working 45 discrete projects plus the service replacement program. 21 of those projects are brand new. Our plan involves the replacement of nearly 56 miles of gas main and over 11,000 gas services. Nearly 98% of the gas main abandonment on the new projects will be of low pressure main, and no new low pressure main installation will occur with any of these 2021 STRIDE projects. Regarding COVID, we continue to deal with the pandemic as best as we can under the circumstances. I think we did a pretty good job throughout 2020 in being nimble and adjusting our resources and plans to take advantage of work opportunities as they became available to ensure that we're constantly striving to meet our asset replacement goals, and we plan on doing the same in 2021. So with that, we're available for any questions the commission may have, and we look forward to having a productive year in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herson, and for the entire BGE team for participating today. Do commissioners have questions for the company? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say again, and it's been consistent as well, that BG&E has made a very high-profile effort to highlight the replacement of their low-pressure main, even though it's not a class of STRIDE project, and it's appreciated, and I think it's an existential threat, and I will continue to push on this until we're no longer threatened by what I perceive to be an important part of improving our infrastructure and safety. And so thank you to the BG&E team for clearly highlighting the low pressure main replacement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. I had a couple questions for BGE regarding the Exhibit D, which is part of their original filing for this proceeding this morning. It's titled as non-STRIDE projects. So can you help me understand what we're talking about here? These are projects that are not going to be part of the STRIDE surcharge. So are these just projects that potentially could become part of STRIDE? Or are they projects that are just independent altogether? Help me to understand what these are and how they became part of the STRIDE filing that we're seeing today.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Linton. I can handle that question. So I believe going back to close to the beginning of STRIDE back in 2014, it may have been a year after it officially started. I think there was a request, and I don't remember if it was from the commission or a product of the work group at the time that was meeting pretty regularly, to submit the annual project filing a list of our non-STRIDE projects. And I think the intent was to just get better transparency on the overall suite of projects that the company was undertaking in a particular year, because as we've said before, although most of our outmoded asset replacement is done through STRIDE, there are some discrete projects that are done outside STRIDE that involve some of the same assets. There are also some projects that we do at the request of local municipalities that we call these public relocations, where, for instance, they may be putting in some new utilities and we have to relocate our gas infrastructure. There may be some other projects that we have to do that do not involve the targeted assets that have been approved by the commission for STRIDE. For instance, maybe a discrete wrapped main or plastic project. Those are all done outside of STRIDE. And again, there was a request at some point in time to just get a better understanding of what the company is doing overall in a given year. So we do include that. Your other question was whether there was a chance that might end up in STRIDE. That's not the intent. These are worked outside of the surcharge, and I don't believe we have the intent of moving those projects into the STRIDE surcharge bucket. Okay. So I hope that answered the question.
It does, thanks. So I just wanted to make sure I was clear that the company wasn't asking the commission to approve these projects as part of the STRIDE filing, but just this was more of an update or notification as to, I initially thought of it as the practice squad of projects, but it's not, in light of the fact that the Ravens are playing today. But so it's more along the lines of, it's my fax beeping me off. So along the lines of same lines as projects that are going to go forward but are not tied to STRIDE at all.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't want to suggest that it's the B team of projects. It's not. I mean, they're important projects, but they're just not being worked in the STRIDE through the STRIDE surcharge.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional questions? I'll propose that I move that we approve the company's 2021 project list. And upon the commission's issuance of an order in case number 9645, which is BG's pending multi-year rate application, that we direct the company to submit a revised STRIDE surcharge filing to account for any change in the authorized rate of return and any other necessary and conforming changes. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, item number 10 is from Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corp. It is a request to qualify the Housing Authority of Washington County as a low-income subscriber under the Community Solar Pilot Program. On this item for staff, we have Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Gary Skolnick and Kevin Chung.
Thank you. We heard this item back in October and granted the parties additional time to better understand what the applicant was looking for and to reach resolution. Good morning, Ms. Garofalo again.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. I have two Neighborhood Sun items. Housing Authority of Washington County, I thought was just called, but I would be happy to do the other one first.
Oh, Ms. Garofalo, if you're on both, why don't we start with item 10?
Okay, so this is the item that was before the commission on a prior occasion. And since that time, staff and Neighborhood Sun have met and exchanged additional information. Neighborhood Sun has filed some of that information. But just briefly, Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corp is acting on behalf of Augsburg Lutheran Home of Maryland. It's requesting that the commission qualify Augsburg as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program. At issue here are the residents of 134 units operated by Augsburg. Neighborhood Sun estimates that the residents of these facilities will use approximately 865 kilowatts of electricity in the BGE service territory. Service will be on a commercial schedule, and in its original letter, Neighborhood Sun states that the average income of an Augsburg resident is $35,000. Neighborhood Sun has provided additional information indicating the household income for each of the residential units for which low-income status is sought, and a letter from the director of Augsburg indicating that each resident participating in the pilot would receive a direct pass-through of 100% of the savings achieved through participation in the pilot for residents who qualify as low or moderate income. Augsburg states the credit will be based on the square footage allocation for each eligible resident, and the rebate would be credited to the eligible resident's monthly services bill. Neighborhood Sun's request that the Augsburg facility be qualified as a low-income subscriber under COMAR 20620303D2 must be denied. It's really, in a way, a technicality. The customers are on a commercial schedule, and staff doesn't feel they're able to meet the requirements necessary for a low-income housing facility. They are, after all, not all low income. But using the metric established under COMAR 20620102B13, Neighborhood Sun found that 84 Augsburg households qualified as moderate income. Specifically, Maryland's median income for 2018, the latest year for which such information is available, was estimated to be 81,864 by the United States Census Bureau. The result is that households with incomes not exceeding $65,494.30 qualify as moderate income for purposes of the pilot, and thus approximately 80% of Augsburg's units qualify for LMI treatment. Staff recommends that 80% of Augsburg's electric usage for the residences at issue in this application be qualified as satisfying Neighborhood Sun's LMI obligations for the affected community solar project. And a certain, I should mention, I don't think I mentioned it in my write-up, that Augsburg has to have a certain amount of LMI in order to actually turn on its facility. On completion of the project, Neighborhood Sun should file an affidavit indicating that Augsburg is a customer and stating the estimated usage at that time. It's not clear to staff. Mr. Skolnick may have better information on this, exactly when that would happen. But this would allow a more definite indication of exactly how many kilowatt hours of electricity should be allocated to Neighborhood Sun for this purpose. And so we recommend that, so our recommendation is that 80% of Augsburg's usage be found to be LMI.
Thank you, Ruffalo. Just to be clear, we are on item 11, and we'll get to item number 10 after we resolve this item. Before we turn to the Village of Augsburg and Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corporation, are there any other parties that wish to speak with respect to item 11? Okay, Mr. Skolnick or Mr. Chung, would you like to address the commission?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gary Skolnick on behalf of Neighborhood Sun. I just want to thank the commission for giving us another chance to go back to the drawing board and work with staff. And I want to thank Ms. Garofalo for working with us. I think this is a fair compromise.
Thank you. So, Mr. Skolnick, safe to assume that you concur with Ms. Garofalo's recommendation?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions? Commissioner O'Donnell.
I think I'm unmuted now. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, we can, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Garofalo, let me start with you. You said something I didn't quite understand. I think I heard it right, or maybe I didn't, so correct me if I'm wrong. But you said Augsburg needs to have a certain amount of LMI in order to turn on its project. What did you mean by that? I don't understand.
Augsburg received its authorization under a capacity requirement that requires it to be small and to have, I believe it's 100%. I have to go look at my comments here to see. And so for the size of the unit, whatever size that is, then that's the number of kilowatt hours Augsburg would need to have in order to turn on its Mr. Skolnick's going to rescue me, I think. So
Yeah,
thank you.
Happy to jump in. I think she misspoke. What she means is that the project that Augsburg is signing up for, which is the Henryton project, is a project that has a requirement of 51% of its output has to be to LMI customers. So in order for that project to turn on, we needed to get Augsburg in there.
All right, so how big is Augsburg? Does Augsburg have multiple developments? Does it have one development? Is it ubiquitous in the state, or is it discrete, just one little 134, 135 customers? Who are you?
Kevin, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, Augsburg is a single site, Campfield Road outside of Baltimore. Just that one area. They are operate ultimately through National Lutheran Communities, which operates a few other facilities in Maryland and Virginia. But we're only talking about Augsburg itself, which is this is one facility in the BGE service territory.
So just to be clear, if we were to approve this, it wouldn't apply anywhere else except this one discrete development.
Just one site. Yep.
Okay.
Your Honor, not only that, but just to be clear, there are several different types of facilities at this location, and we're only talking about the apartment buildings that are discussed in the comments.
All right. Well, this feels like the penny that keeps returning, but okay. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate the parties' diligence in working with each other to better understand as we better understand these projects.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, I had a question. The staff comments say that residents are required to report their financial data or their financial information annually on resident application form. Is there any certification? What do they submit? Tax returns? I mean, something that's just people saying, yeah, this is how much money I have coming in. It's something that we can rely on to have a check on the actual incomes of your residents.
I think Mr. Chung would know that better. It is a certification, but exactly how that transpires, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so as a nonprofit, Augsburg actually requires all their residents to do a financial review once a year as part of their benefits packages to their residents. So that's a built-in structure that's going to be in part of the process already.
Right, but is there any sort of certification with respect to these incomes on which the commission could rely that these folks are in fact low and moderate income?
Certification. I mean, we can get the data. Is there a certain certification you're looking for?
Well, you know, that is it a tax return? Is it just somebody saying, here's a piece of paper I fill out that says this is my income this year? You know, where does the information come from?
Tax returns.
So you get a copy of a customer's of a resident's tax return, they send it to you and showing you what their income is for that year?
Not me personally, but it is reported. So. So
okay,
that's what I was.
Right. So yeah. It's not just somebody saying, "Yeah, I make 50,000. You know, I get $50,000 a year."
Yeah. Correct. Okay. Yeah. There's a financial review that's conducted by Augsburg once a year, and actually, that's how they put together their benefits packages for all their residents. And so yeah, there is verification in that process.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Would move that we qualify 80% of Augsburg's electric usage for residences as satisfying the Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corporation's LMI obligation for the affected small brownfield and other community solar projects, and direct Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corporation upon completion of the project to file an affidavit indicating that Augsburg is a customer and stating the estimated usage at that point in time. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved. Finally, the last item, item number 11, which is also Neighborhood Sun Benefit Corporation. Ms. Garofalo.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is Neighborhood Sun Benefit acting on behalf of Housing Authority of Washington County. They are requesting that the authority be qualified as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program. The Housing Authority is a public nonprofit corporation that participates in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, a federally funded, locally administered rental assistance program. It helps low-income families whose households do not, according to the application, exceed $28,000 annually. The authority's programs are supported by various government sources, including the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which was formerly known as the Section 8 program. The authority and Neighborhood Sun state that 100% of the authority's residents earn less than $28,000 annually per household. The discount on electricity is expected to range from 20 to 30%, and that discount on the credits from community solar would be passed directly to the authority's residents. Under COMAR 2062-0303D2, an operator of a low-income multifamily dwelling may apply to the Commission to qualify as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the pilot program. A review of the standards for 175% of the federal poverty level for the current year indicates that the current annual federal poverty level for one person is $22,332, and for a two-person household is $30,180. The federal poverty level scale increases with the addition of each household member. Information regarding household size is not available and no doubt fluctuates over time. Staff is willing to accept that households below $28,000 in annual income meet the federal poverty level on average and recommends the authority qualify as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the pilot program.
Thank you. Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing additional to add.
Thank you. Ms. Garofalo, your mic is open. Do commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone, once again. I had a question for representatives of the Housing Authority of Washington County. In your filing, you note that the savings that are realized from this program, the 20 to 30% discount, will be passed directly on to the residents of the community. Could you help me to understand how you would pass the savings on to them? Is this what type of mechanism are you going to use to do that?
Thank you, Commissioner Linton. I'll pass that to Kevin to answer.
Yeah, so what they have of the Housing Authority of Washington County is they would simply divide that the benefit to their residents. Now, in this facility, their utilities are included with their with the assistance they have.
Right.
So that is divided among the other residents there.
So these are former these are Housing Choice Voucher Program, former Section 8 customers.
Right.
Are they receiving a energy credit as part of this the vouchers they receive in order to pay for their usage?
They receive the benefit. They receive it as a deduction from their monthly expenses. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a different way. Are they paying anything for either their utility service or their rent out of pocket?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they're going to see this savings will go. It'll be applied in such a way so that their out of pocket expense, regardless of what the amount would be because of the size of their voucher, would be. That's where the savings will land.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I had.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Seeing none, I move that we qualify the Housing Authority of Washington County as a low-income subscriber under the Code of Maryland Regulations, Title 20, Subtitle 62, Chapter 3, Regulation 3D2. The vote begins with Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
And Commissioner Richard.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved for item number 10. We have no additional business on today's agenda. Just as a programming note, we do have a rulemaking for engineering stamping in docket RM 71 this coming Friday. With that, today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you.